everybody wants to get rich, right? And what you need to understand about your startup is, what are you really selling? What is the real problem you're addressing, and what are you really saying? I'll give you an example of it, actually, which I thought was fascinating. Before we get into this element of things that you need to know as you're selling, but understanding what you really are selling. I was working with a company amazing company from the Intel Ignite program, who are making microchips, semiconductors in space. Yeah. Completely mind-blowing, right? They cool easier, new type of chip technology, super crazy stuff. What did they think they were selling? They think they're selling the ability to have a chip that runs on less electricity and is therefore going to take much less electricity. So when you're building a 5G generator, that 5G antenna will use less electricity. Yeah. I said, how do you know they care about it? If you go to the head of BT or the head of Verizon or the head of AT&T who are building it, how do you know they actually care about that? Well, the CFO is going to care about cost, or the company cares about being carbon neutral. So I said, well, how do you know they haven't hedged the cost of electricity for the next 5 years? How do you know that they haven't done a massive carbon offset? Yeah. Now, all these things you can find out and you can do the discovery on. I said, what they might actually care about, because they're such a large enterprise, is actually the biggest thing for them is 5G coverage. And why have they not got full 5G coverage? Because these things are huge. And if it requires less cooling, you could have a smaller antenna. If you have a smaller antenna, you can put it in more places. Again, so you keep going into different angles. And I think this is one of the most essential parts of sales, is understanding that when the front door is closed, go through the side door. And find another motive. You have to find another angle, another way through. So before even talking about pain and starting a discovery process and then goes on to showing a demo or start actually selling, you say, be very open-minded and have this mindset that I can have different pains that working on different clients for a very specific product with very certain specific features. And I would go even further, for very specific stakeholders. Yeah. And even if you're within the same organization, within the same organization, account, the same client, people are mind blown by this. I very often talk about the number of stakeholders that are involved in getting even a $20,000 deal signed off. Yeah. And I always bring them the example from when I was VP of sales at SimilarWeb. I was like, how many stakeholders do you think? You're talking about at the time the company was maybe 30 million in revenue, 40 million in revenue, 600-700 people company. How many stakeholders do you think I would need to get sign off for to buy a $20,000 piece of sales technology? Right. And some people will go 5, 6. And I think I can name around 12 to 15 people that would have had to have been involved in some way in getting sign off for that. And if it was above 30 grand, you know, Orfe himself would have reviewed it and decided whether we would go ahead with it. So from legal to FP&L to finance to the other stakeholders to sales ops to CISO to whoever it is, right? They're a very, very, very large range, and each of them will have an opinion and can potentially block you for no reason. So you have to bear that in mind and understand that each one of them may have a different underlying motivator that you need to buy. But I think these things hold true for all of them, which is we sell so people can buy, right? So we're trying to enable that process. We're trying to help them through that buying process. There's the element of transfer of emotion. People buy from people. You can't get away from that. But there is an element of building trust and certainty. And I think this element of trust and certainty is fundamental in the sales process, because the second you do something wrong on that or remove it, you're giving someone a reason not to buy. Yeah. And you need to make sure you're helping them buy and navigating them through that process and not giving them an excuse to say no. And the other big element, and I think this is one of the other really massive changes in sales in the last 10, 15 years, is the element of being a specialist in your field. I think in the old days, you were always considered a specialist in your company. So you were the middleman. I was selling Oracle. There's no way the person I was selling to, there was no way I knew more about Oracle database than them, right? Yeah. I didn't know anything about Oracle database. I'm not a techie. What I did know was the internal workings of Oracle. I knew how to get the discounts, how to get the paperwork done, how to do the processes, how to help them through the process of buying internally within Oracle, because that was quite a complex process.
Yeah.
Today, with the advent of SaaS, with the advent of the internet being what it is today, and the way that people expect buy
more.
Today, they expect.
Don't just tell me how to get a discount or how to go through the Oracle sales process smoothly, but also teach me something that I didn't know about how your product can help me solve a problem that I was having trouble to solve.
Correct. And I think the problem element was always there. I think people didn't trust salespeople as much, but I also want to re-clarify that, because I think this is one of those misconceptions that people have about salespeople as well. Top-end enterprise salespeople can be paid a lot of money, and I'm sure a lot of founders are sitting there thinking, oh my God, I can't afford this check. Why are these people being paid more than anyone else in the company, etc.? And I met guys at Oracle who were doing, I know the guy who did the biggest deal in Oracle's history at the time that I was there. It was a huge deal with, I think it was with BT. It was with one of the telcos. But in essence, this guy was working the C-suite at this large multinational company and understood the value that Oracle would give to every single part of the business transformation of this customer, as well as someone at the C-suite.
Yeah.
And at that point, why would they not be paid as well as someone on that C-suite?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're holding those conversations, those business conversations with that company at that level, right? And so the specialist in the field, it was there. It was just always at the top end of what was going on. Now it's expected the whole way through, even at a SaaS level.
Yeah.